Good morning, this is 97.7 The Bolt, and it's time for the Your Care, Our Mission show, brought to you by the Humboldt County Memorial Hospital. And this morning we are going to be talking about the pharmacy, right?
That's right, Emily. My name's Larry Hall. I'm the pharmacist at Humboldt County Memorial Hospital. Been there now, coming up on 14 years, I guess it is. Seems like a long time. And whenever I come out to talk, it says, well, we aren't a retail pharmacy. We've got two fine retail pharmacies in town that you can go to. And so it's always, what do we talk about? What has to do with what? And today, rather than trying to tell you why you need to come to the hospital and the things that you need to get and the services you need to take advantage of, today's more of a public service announcement. The questions that I get when people ask me about medications, overwhelmingly people ask me about generic medications. Are they as good as brands? Why isn't this drug available? When will it become available generically? Just kind of that whole process. So up until the commercial break, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the whole generic process. Well, to understand the generic process, first thing you have to know is about the brand drug process. What it takes. Well, if a drug company sees a product that they think is going to be promising for human use and they start doing testing, then at the point where they start human testing, that's when the patent starts. And it runs for 20 years. So typically it'll take about sometimes 3 to 5, even 7 years before drugs actually available for sale to the general public. An example would be Crestor, a drug that just became available generically just very recently, which was much anticipated. I don't know when testing started way back in the late 90s, and it became available for human use in 2003, and it just now became available generically, so what's that, 13, 14 years later. And okay, at that point, when a generic becomes available, okay, how do you decide if a generic, how does the FDA determine if a generic is as good as the brand? Well, it's actually very precise, and that's the big question I have. I don't think that generic works as good as the brand, and I tell people, no, really, you should believe that this is good. What the FDA requires is two kinds of testing, in vitro and in vivo testing. In vitro means put it in a petri test dish that's got something that looks a lot like stomach acid and see if it dissolves at the same time. Okay, that's in vivo. Also be able to, or in vitro. That also says, can I measure this and see that it actually has the same amount of the same ingredient, the active ingredient. So that's that test. But then they do what they call in vivo testing. That means they actually give it to, typically it's about 100 people. And they poke them about every hour or whatever the pertinent period of time, and they measure, and they're looking at three things. They're looking at, does it have the same Cmax, the same Tmax, and the same AUC? What are those things? Cmax is maximum concentration. Does it reach the same maximum concentration as the brand? Does it reach that concentration in the same amount of time? That's the Tmax. And then probably the most important one is what we call the AUC. That's area under the curve. They graph it out, and it's too bad that this is radio. I'd have these graphs here. They graph out this blood level curve that sees how the drug enters the system, slowly goes up, and then is slowly eliminated. And does it match in that way? And if it passes the in vitro testing, and it has the same Cmax and Tmax and AUC in a fairly decent-sized group of people, then the FDA will say, okay, great, we can make this available as a generic product that is what we call AB equivalent to the brand. AB is actually the best equivalency. There's different ones. There's AA, and you'd think AA would be better, but AA isn't. AB is the highest. If something is an AB-related generic rated, then you know it's going to be the same. It's going to work the same in your body. It's going to work the same as the brand. You can expect it to work just as well, and it should save you some money. So from that standpoint, yeah, sure, we love brands. I'd take brands all the time if they didn't cost me anymore. But a generic is a really, really good choice. Okay, so how do I know if a drug's going to become available generic? Is there a way? Is there someplace I can go out and find that? Well, as a matter of fact, there is. You can go out and you can do a search for FDA Orange Book. It's this book put out by the Food and Drug Administration. Used to be orange. Now it's all done online, but they still call it the Orange Book. And you can actually go out and you can search for drugs and by the generic name or by the brand name. And the tricky part about it is the information's all there in the FDA Orange Book, but it's hard.
Yeah.
You can totally go out and look at it. However, there are all kinds of other organizations out there that you can go out and look on the web, and you can see when patents are likely to expire and what's going to happen then. The big question is then, next question is, well, the doctor keeps on giving me these brand name drugs, and you tell me that they're generics, or there are other alternatives that are cheaper. How do I get my doctor to not give me all these really expensive drugs that don't have the patent expired? And the big question, first thing I tell them says avoid samples. You know, you're going to the doctor and they says, oh, you've got a little high blood pressure. Well, here, I'll go and I'll give you this sample. And you're saying, great, I don't have to spend anything on a sample. That's awesome. Well, then a month when that sample runs out, you call back to the doctor, and the doctor just renews it. And guess what? You're now stuck with the brand name drug. And you can call back to the doctor and say, well, the brand name drug is really expensive. I'd really rather take a generic. Well, the doctor more often than not is going to say, well, this is working really well for you. I don't really want to switch to something else.
Yep.
So when you go into the doctor, you got a health condition, the doctor says they want to prescribe something, ask for the generic. Say, is there a generic that's going to do the job for me? I don't need your sample. I just want you to give me a prescription for something that's going to be inexpensive for me for a long period of time. Now, they can't always do that. Some drugs, brand's the only thing that's available that's going to treat a specific condition. But for the vast majority of conditions, there are generics that work extremely well. So.
All right, awesome. Anything else that you would like to mention about generic versus name brand?
Oh, heavens, you know, I could go on and on and on. As I'll say, Crestor is a good example. Very popular drug. A number of people have taken it. It's used for cholesterol, and everyone got excited because the generic was going to come out. And they said, oh, the price is going to drop a lot. And the bad news I have for people right now is that, nope, not initially, it won't. There is a generic on the market, but the FDA, under certain circumstances, companies will petition the FDA, and they can get generic exclusivity too. So there's one brand, and right now there's just one generic. Well, if there's only one generic, it's going to be cheaper than the brand, but probably not a lot cheaper. The good news is, the bad news is that they've got that marketing exclusivity. The good news is when they do that, usually they only have marketing exclusivity for about 6 months. So we're still looking for a cheaper Crestor, but it probably isn't going to happen until sometime in the fall. And that happens to a lot of drugs. And your pharmacist that you go to, they can be a great resource on this. Usually they keep up on these things as well as they can, and they can tell you when a generic's going to be available of a drug. They can also, usually they can say, well, it's going to come out and it's going to be a lot cheaper, or it's going to come out, but no, you're probably not going to be a lot cheaper for another few months. Eventually, there'll be multiple generics of pretty much any drug. And then you can expect to have significant savings. Can make a really big difference. But be proactive. Ask your pharmacist. Ask your doctors. Insist on generics. Yeah, you can save yourself a lot of money. Even if you got good insurance, nobody's got that good an insurance anymore. That they only have $1 copay or something like that.
Yep.
So.
All right, awesome. Again, that is Larry Hall. We're going to take a quick break here on 97.7 The Volt, and we'll be back to talk with him more here on the Your Care, Our Mission show, brought to you by the Humboldt County Memorial Hospital.
Diabetes is a complex disease that must be constantly managed. The treatment for type 2 diabetes includes lifestyle changes, along with medications. Lifestyle changes include a healthy diet and physical activity, which is not easy. The treatment plan for each person with type 2 diabetes needs to be individualized to achieve the best outcome. Failure to manage and control type 2 diabetes can lead to numerous diabetes-associated complications, including cardiovascular disease, stroke, kidney failure, blindness, and amputations. At Humboldt County Memorial Hospital, the Diabetes and Nutrition Education Center offer education and support with the goal of self-management and healthy lifestyles for people with diabetes for children and adults. Our diabetes specialists include a registered nurse and registered dietitian. Our compassionate and highly trained staff provides patients and the people who support them with the tools needed to live well with the disease. Let the professional diabetes education team at Humboldt County Memorial Hospital educate and support your efforts to self-manage diabetes. For more information, please call 515-332-7643. Humboldt County Memorial Hospital. Quality care close to home.
This is 97.7 The Volt, and we're back here on the Your Care, Our Mission show, brought to you by the Humboldt County Memorial Hospital. And we're talking to Larry Hall. He just talked about generic versus name brand drugs. And now we're going to be talking about an asthma support group, right, Larry?
That's right, Emily. Courtney Palmer, who's the head of our respiratory therapy department, dropped me a little note yesterday saying, Jay, when you're talking on the radio, could you talk about this? And I'm saying, like, this is something that is awesome. It really is. I have a daughter who has asthma. She doesn't live around here, so she won't be able to participate. But this is a whether thing. I've been a pharmacist in various places for, about 25 years, and asthma is a big deal. Whether you know it or not, you have friends and things like that who suffer from asthma, and some of them suffer pretty severely, or maybe you're somebody who struggles with it, either a little bit or a lot. And they have started at the hospital a asthma support group. This is a great thing. This is not something that you're going to go in and you're going to pay $25 a meeting or something like that. This is an asthma support group. That's exactly what it is. It's we're facilitating people to meet with other people who have asthma and to discuss the situations that they have and try to help them with the things. We're going to be meeting next on Tuesday, June 28th at 4 p.m. in the cardiopulmonary department. If you want to know where that is, it's super easy. You walk in the main door of the hospital. You don't even have to walk straight and go to the registration desk. As you walk in that main door, you can just turn to the right, and there's a door right there, which will take you right into the cardiopulmonary department. This is free, as I'm saying. We aren't trying to hook you. There are very few things in life that where we say it's free, and then you get there and you find out all of a sudden, no, that wasn't really free. You're afraid, oh golly, a free timeshare talk? No, it's never free.
Yeah.
But this is the real deal. We want to be our goal at Humboldt County Memorial Hospital, believe it or not, is really to make the residents of Humboldt County just as healthy as they can be. I would love it if everybody was just in such perfect health that I could lose a job. I know that's not going to happen, and that's comforting too. But I'd just soon have people take less drugs. Even though I'm a pharmacist, I'd just as soon have people come to the hospital less because they're healthier. Because really, we want to make people healthy. We don't want people to be sick. This asthma support group, super excited about it. It's Tuesday, June 28th, 4 p.m. Just come in the main entrance of the hospital, turn to the right away through those doors into cardiopulmonary. This isn't going to cost anything. We're not going to hook you. We're not going to try to get you signed up for stuff. We're just there to try to help you better control and treat your asthma and meet with other people who have the similar condition. You don't know how excited I am that we're doing things like this. This is just really, truly awesome, and I know there's a real need. But we need people to come out and be involved and not be afraid to come inside the hospital. There's a lot of stigma, with hospitals. People say, that hospital, that's where my grandma went and died.
Yep.
It's just like, well, yeah, she was 96, but we look at those things, and hospitals are healing environments, and the cardiopulmonary department is a real example of where people go and they get better. We teach them how to treat their diseases and how to control them and how to get better and to take less medications and the things they can do for lifestyle. And there are a lot of things, and this is one example. So I'll say, they keep telling us we should say these things over and over so you get it. So I'm going to say, asthma support group. It'll be held on Tuesday, June 28th at 4 p.m. Write it down. You may not remember if you're like me. And it's right inside the door, turn to the right at the hospital, cardiopulmonary department. That's about all I got, Emily.
Yeah, awesome. Again, that is Larry Hall from the Humboldt County Memorial Hospital here on the Your Care, Our Mission show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.